All right, so the embargo has been lifted, and that means I'm very excited to share with you my first drive impressions of this vehicle behind me. This is the all-new 2024 Buick Envista. This model here is the ST, but I also get to drive the Avenir, so I'll be bringing that to you as well. So with that, let's get going. All right, so recently, if you've been following my channel at all, or even on my Instagram or my Facebook or my TikTok, any of that kind of stuff, you've probably been noticing that I've been getting a little bit more Buick content out there, and that is for very good reason. Number one, I had the opportunity to go to Warren, Michigan a few months back and see the GM Design Dome, and in there was the refreshed 2024 Buick Encore GX. And then just most recently, I had the opportunity to go to Ann Arbor, Michigan, great city in Michigan, not far from Detroit, to test drive for the world exclusive premiere, basically launch, I guess global launch, I should say, it would be better terminology, of the new 2024 Buick Envista. Now they had the Preferred there, they had the ST, and they had the Avenir, of course. Until recently, of course, you've probably seen that I've been doing some walkarounds on it, but I couldn't tell you what my ride impressions were, and that was very frustrating for me because I came away extremely impressed. Not much different than how impressed and shocked I was a few months ago when I got to try the Chevy Trax out, which of course, if you didn't already know, so the Chevy Trax, the 2024 Chevy Trax to be more specific, and the 2024 Buick Envista are on a very similar platform. They use similar engine, they use similar suspension in some cases, they use similar, transmission and so on. So there's a lot of similarities between them. So I was really excited and anxious to try out the Buick because I'm familiar with the Buick brand from having been a salesperson in the past, and where the differences lie, tune technology, suspension, and so on, that Buick usually brings to the table, not including and not even mentioning the warranty aspect. But getting back to what I was just talking about, they had three different variations of the Buick Envista, there. Now, the reasoning why they have the three is because that's the three trim levels it comes in. So it comes in a preferred trim level, which is your entry trim level, the ST, which is the sport touring trim level, and then it comes in the Avenir, which is the range topper in terms of, trim levels, in terms of, features and looks and so on and so forth. Now, to me, I actually like the ST trim. I like the sporty looking trim, but I know some of you, especially getting into the Buick line, the premium line that Buick is, you might want to get into something that's a little more classy, like the Avenir would be. Now, all that being said, what I was really impressed by was how the ride was, and how the power was, and how the suspension was. The only thing I can tell you, though, unfortunately, I did not get any time behind the wheel of the Preferred. However, based on what the vehicle is, aside from the quietness and so on, the suspension, the transmission, the engine are the same as what I saw in the Chevy Trax. So I already knew basically how that vehicle, for the most part, was going to ride. And so I decided to spend my time in the ST and the Avenir simply because there is only so much time, and those are the vehicles I really wanted to try. A couple of the reasons why is because they actually had, the ones I driven, a different suspension than what you can get in a Chevy Trax and what you can get in the Preferred. Now, when you get into an ST trim level, again, the sport touring with the black wheels and so on, and by the way, before I go too much further, I've done videos comparing the Encore GX and the Envista. I have Envista ST video. I have an Envista Avenir video. So basically, if you want to know about the vehicles themselves and what the inside is like and so on, go check those out. But in the meantime, today I want to talk again about what the ride was. And so if you get into an ST, there's two different wheel variations you have options for. First and foremost, the standard wheel option on an ST is an 18-inch gloss black aluminum wheel. Obviously great, right? Now, the only thing is, that's going to give you the same suspension that you get in the Preferred trim level. However, if you bump up to a 19-inch gloss black wheel, in that package along comes the Watts Link rear suspension. Now, that is a suspension that comes standard on the range-topping Avenir, and I will tell you that there is at least a slight difference that I noticed in the ride of those two vehicles with that suspension versus what I noticed, like say in the Chevy Trax, which have the same similar suspension that we're seeing in the Preferred trim level or your base ST level. Now, I had a chance to speak to one of the engineers about the Watts Link rear suspension, and the idea behind it was to give you a little bit better, softer suspension, but not that old boat-like, super floaty suspension that you would have, in the older, larger Buick cars. And the reason for that is because they want to retain some of the sportiness to the vehicle, because the idea behind the Buick Envista, the 2024 Buick Envista, is essentially it has it's longer than in a Buick Encore, for an example, GX, but it has a more sleek roofline. one, because they want to match up a premium, sedan feel, but the ability to have the amenities that you're going to have in a crossover. They're trying to mix that up, but they want to have the feel and the drive characteristics more so of a car. And of course, they go 2+ in the suspension, it's not going to be as reactive. And I did notice that good, happy medium in the drive. By the way, the reason why I'm talking about this and just overlaying and not talking the cars, because my GoPro died partway through all of this, and I really felt like you could hear me a little bit better clearly this way. So so that was my first impression of the suspension, noticing a little bit of a difference, adding that Wattson suspension. Now, all that being said, if you get an ST and your only ability is to get an 18s, or you don't care for the 19-inch wheel, I really wouldn't hesitate at still buying that vehicle, because again, had you not tried the Wattsons in comparison, and even after you've done that, it's not, blowing your hat off difference. There is a difference, especially if you're tuned into the vehicle, but it's not enough to say, oh, I'm not going to buy the vehicle if it doesn't have it. So that's just at least that's my opinion. Now, the 1.2 liter 3-cylinder turbo that these are, coming standard with is mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission and produces 137 horsepower. To many of you, I'm sure that sounds like it's underpowered, but we have to remember this is not an overly large vehicle, not to mention it's not meant to race Camaros and Corvettes, right? It's not a Buick GNX either. This is a commuter car that is doing exactly what it needs to do. And I've driven the tracks on the highway. I've driven this on the highway, twisty turnies. I actually drove the tracks in the mountains down in North Carolina. And what I can say about this engine is it does exactly what you need it to do, and you're not having to think about it. So it has a 6-speed transmission in it, as I just mentioned. I think the shifts shifted beautifully, at least from what I noticed. I didn't feel like I was missing. The only time I really noticed anything is if you're really trying to step on it and then get off it and step back on it, you might notice a little bit difference. But again, that's not how that vehicle is being driven for the most part. On the highway especially, one of the things I just really liked about the vehicle is I wasn't even thinking about it. In order to pass somebody, if I was cruising along at 70 miles an hour, or whatever it was, where the highway speeds in Michigan were 75 in some cases, it really, you weren't having to think and go, oh, this is underpowered, right? And that's all you can really ask for from an engine that is producing 28 miles per gallon in the city and 32 miles per gallon on the highway in terms of fuel efficiency. Not to mention, of course, if they keep that 1.2 liter in there, because I have had a lot of people comment, why didn't they put something bigger? Well, the whole idea with this vehicle is they want to get you into a premium vehicle at a relatively affordable price in comparison to the competition out there, because the Buick is a luxury brand, and I'll speak to that just simply from the warranty perspective. If you didn't know this, customers out there or people watching this video or considering a Buick, if you're going to compare it to, let's say, the Chevrolet Trax, which again is a very competent vehicle, and I know I've done that a lot in this video, but I just want to give you some comparisons. The Chevrolet Trax has a 3-year factory warranty, and I don't want to use the term bumper to bumper, but you know what I mean, and a 5-year powertrain warranty. The Buick, on the other hand, has a 4-year factory warranty and a 6-year, powertrain warranty. So it has a year longer on both forms of the warranty, which is what we call in the industry a luxury warranty, because this is a premium brand. So that in and of itself should speak to the confidence Buick has behind the vehicles they produce. Now, one of the other things I really noticed about this, besides the suspension, besides the the engine, the transmission, which again I'm very impressed by. Again, you have to consider what the vehicle is and the price you're paying for it, and we're going to talk about pricing here momentarily. But the other thing I really noticed is Buick's quiet tune technology, things like double laminated glass, and just certain areas where they put certain materials to make the vehicle quieter. Now, again, comparing to the Chevy Trax, I hate doing this, but I just want to give you some comparisons here. I did notice it to be, slightly quieter, but I didn't have a problem with the Trax to begin with. So in complete honesty, what they did on the Buick, I think only just made it that much better. But I could drive without the radio on. I wasn't getting a lot of road noise. And again, especially when you have an engine, a motor that is, a little higher strung, being it's a 3-cylinder turbo, you're going to have a bit more noise, you think. Did not hear it. It wasn't anything to be concerned about. And so again, and being a smaller vehicle, you might think it's going to be more tingy and whatever when you're hitting bumps and so on. Not so. And that being said, by the way, just going back quickly to the suspension aspect, the fact that this vehicle is a bit longer, but it's still a shorter vehicle overall compared to a lot of vehicles out there, and it is a lighter vehicle, you would think that it's going to give a rough ride. But overall, I was very impressed with the suspension, despite the fact that it's a smaller crossover. And all this being said, this is coming in at a very affordable price for most people. Again, considering the luxury warranty, the features that this vehicle has, again, go check out the walk around videos I've done on these so you know what it is I'm talking about feature-wise. but they are coming in, pardon me, at a very affordable price. Now, I'm going to give you Canadian and American pricing here. Now, what you have to keep in mind is there's a couple different packages, and some things are coming standard on the Canadian versions that aren't coming standard on the, the versions of the United States. However, unlike the Buick Encore GX, which only comes in all-wheel drive in Canada, there is, of course, no all-wheel drive option in this new Envista. It is only available in a front-wheel drive, of course. So that being said, there is no difference there, but there's some standard features that are coming in Canada, which is why there's even more price difference than you would normally see. But if we talk about the pricing, let's start with the Preferred, because of course that's your entry trim level. The Preferred is coming in at $23,495 US versus $28,999 Canadian. The ST 25,195 versus $30,299 Canadian, and the Avenir is $29,695 US versus $33,899 Canadian. It's very hard to beat how this vehicle performs, what it offers, and listen, I think this thing looks great. I think that the ST, especially, again, I have a little part in my heart for that ST. I don't know why. I really like that version of it. I think it looks fantastic. I think they've hit it out of the park with this one. If you get the opportunity to try one out at your local dealer when they come, by the way, I think they're expecting to land in dealerships, at least in the United States. I'm not 100% in Canada. I think it's the same time frame, towards the end of July into August, but into the summer, later summer here. So very soon, actually, that time is going to fly by, as you know, as the summer does. But I would really strongly recommend getting the opportunity, or trying to get the opportunity, to get behind the wheel at one of our dealer, because I think you're going to be very impressed with what it offers for the price. That is my ride review. I hope you liked it. If you have any questions, please comment below. And if you've watched this far, why don't you give me a subscribe and a like? I'd really appreciate it. Listen, until next time, take care.